Let's go with today's video. I wasn't planning on doing a guide on this champion because originally when I read his skills he wasn't anything mind-blowing. He was okay, could have been interesting, and I decided to build him on the test server while we have it open and see what he was able. And today we're gonna see maybe a different approach or both approaches what I found out about this champion, because Plarium seems to kind of repeat the events. We've had him on this kind of white shards. He was the highlighted champion, and also next weekend or this coming weekend we're gonna have a ×2 in sacred shards, and he's gonna be on a ×10. So Plarium is giving us several chances to pull him, and in case you pull him you might find this guide interesting. So let's have a look at him. Hi, Senda here, and welcome to another raid video. Like I said, Plarium seemed to want to give us this champion, or at least give us several chances to get him in different ways, and since some of you might pull him, here's the guide to see what is he able to do in action. My first thoughts is that he's not anything special. I'm gonna compare him, I think it's pretty good comparison with with War Chief, I think it's called, Skinwalkers. He was War Chief, not Warlord. War Chief, he's been rebalanced several times, and they both do a couple of very similar things. So let's jump quickly on his skills, Argonites and PHEMO. Here is like a Cyclops, obviously, he's Polyphemus from the Odyssey, from the famous book. He's obviously like a Cyclops, and he was also a shepherd in the history. And in this case, ideally he's a tank, defense-based champion, high defense, and since he doesn't have 63%, his design is that his role, his main task, is not dealing damage. That was my original thought. I also, the first time I geared him, I didn't take this into consideration, but I've seen that his damage is not too bad, especially because we have a passive where he's able to increase his champion's or this champion's defense up to a 30% and max HP for each stun debuff successfully landed by this champion. So he gets stronger the more stuns he places. That, combined with pretty decent multipliers, then I switched the way I geared him and I put him more damage dealer, and his damage is actually okay. It's not mind-blowing, but it's okay. However, he still has some problems, and I wanted to raise them and just talk about it in this video. We have an A1, the only thing this thing does is attacks one enemy and is able to decrease the turn meter by 15%, it's not too much. On the A2, we place a shield and an increased defense. The shield is normal, is very of the likes of Brogni and this kind of champions. It's nothing mind-blowing, it's a defense-based shield, it's okay. And the only interesting thing this does is that if an ally dies, he automatically uses this skill. So he places the increased defense and the shields, and these become protected if there are any dead allies. There's some problems with this, and it's that, okay, we need to start first off with this skill if we want him to deal more damage, because he's able to apply this increased defense. The more defense he has, the bigger the shield, and also on top of that, he's not able to revive anyone. So let's say he's been during the wave, surviving, getting tankier, more defense, more HP, some allies die and he remains alive, he will use this skill, place increased defense, place the shield. However, he cannot do anything with that. In 2 turns, this will disappear, and we won't be able to revive our allies unless we bring someone together. So he's not that kind of same idea of champions that when an ally dies, then they place themselves a block, like an unkillable or block damage, so they're able to jump in and revive the dead ally. Is not the case, is very conditional, and the synergy of the passive effect is not that crazy. However, the A3 is actually the highlight of his kit. It's a very powerful control skill, especially for one single target, one single enemy. 75% chance of placing a stun for 2 turns, and 75% chance of fully decreasing the target turns meter. This is quite powerful. Stun for 2 turns plus turn meter means the ally needs to start loading the turn meter, get a turn, will be stunned turn 1, load again the turn meter, will be stunned turn 2, and then we'll have to load the turn meter again. So it's kind of losing 3 turns. By the time this passed, probably PHEMO has this skill again. So it's a pretty powerful control, and if the stun successfully lands on the initial target, then attacks all enemies except the initial target. This is good and shit at the same time. The good part is that we have the potential of doing 2 AoE damage, 1 to the single target and then 1 AoE. The problem is that it says if the stun was successfully placed on the initial target. This means if the initial target survived, because if we kill the target, we don't place the stun because that enemy is dead and he's not going to be doing the AoE hit. So it's good at the same time if we don't kill the enemy. If we don't kill the enemy, then we do the AoE hit, potentially placing stun. So it has pros and cons. And the passive, we've already seen it. In terms of stats, we have quite a big chunk of HP, decent defense, average speed, and theoretically is not a damage dealer. So the way I've geared him, like I said, you're fine just gearing him with a couple of things. So let's find him, here he is. So originally I thought, okay, his role is not dealing damage because it only hits single target. Let's put a lot of defense and let's put a lot of speed and this is not a lot of speed, but my original thought is like he needs only defense, speed and accuracy. We only need to be landing the stuns. However, I've seen that with the passive increasing his own defense, increasing his own HP, his damage wasn't bad at all. So I changed him. I was like, okay, let's see what is he able to do in terms of damage. So I placed a Savage, I placed Defiant just to get a bit more extra defense, and then I had a couple of extra random here slots, so I just put a bit of Mercurial, a bit of Stone Skin, and that's it. So nothing too crazy. You can see he's not 5-star ascended, so it's like a pretty vanilla, pretty base and standard PHEMO. However, it's more damage focused. We have crit damage with crit damage, here defense with crit rate or crit damage, here we have even more crit damage, here we need accuracy and a bit more of defense, so it's not super bad gear, but his role is going to be more like a tank / AoE control or single target control, and that's probably the downside, that he's only able to do one control to one enemy. In terms of relics, I put the Molten Death Bell. I think it's okay. It can increase turn meter or increases turn meter 10% when applying stuns. He does apply stuns, but in terms of other options for relics, we can choose literally anything that deals more damage. For example, on a golden elixir, if we want to focus him a bit more tanky, we can go with Malefic Talon, pretty solid, always gives, so it's easy to get, it's a rare one, and it gives us a big chunk of crit damage. Stormcaller, if we want to do even more damage, especially keeping in mind this the crit damage increase, Cat's Gaze as well. There was another interesting one, I think, for him, that was Hammer of Ending, 15% chance to place irresistible stun on a single target for 1 turn whenever they reduce target's HP by 30%. Could count as placing stun, so there's a lot of different options depending if you want to go a bit more tanky control or a bit more damage dealer. And in terms of masteries, I just went with some kind of hybrid. We want to deal damage, that's why I went with this one, with Helm Smasher, and then here we need a bit of accuracy, and then I switched to increase the amount of the value of the shields. It would be also correct going with Steadfast and then going with not this one here, shield bearer, and then going here, healing savior, if we want to potentiate that the shield instead of the damage. So we could easily go this route. If we don't care about the damage, we could completely remove the defense and go something a bit more standard. If we need more accuracy, we could even go to Eagle Eye. So there's a lot of different options depending what are you going to use him for. If you're going to use him for damage or control or purely tank and you don't care about damage, there's a lot of different ways. That said, let's have a quick look at his damage. This should be more than enough because we have the champion, he's able to place increased defense, so we're going to be able to see the damage, and I'm going to show you exactly that I meant, that he's good and bad at the same time, especially with that A2. So the first thing we want to do is start with the shield and also put an increased defense, so the second hit is bigger and the shield is bigger. You can see it's a decent amount of shield, it's nothing crazy, it's nothing mind-blowing. Let's see the damage of the A3. Remember, we don't want to kill the enemy if we aim to put an AoE stun. So let's attack, for example, this Renegade here, A3, We killed her. You see the damage is not bad, 288 is not bad. We kill her, because we killed her, we didn't place the stun, and because we didn't place the stun, we're not doing the AoE hit. So it kind of loses a lot of value. It's just a hitter and it kills, and that's it. It doesn't do anything if we kill the enemy. So maybe that's not ideal. If, let's say we do it again, and let's start instead of with A2, let's start with A3, and hopefully we don't kill anyone. Now we don't kill her, and now he does the AoE hit. So this renegade is completely neutralized, has no turn meter, 2 turn stun. All the rest of the enemies are, they took some damage, they're also stunned, they also haven't fully completed the turn meter. So it's interesting if what we want is to control waves. However, we have to be vigilant to not kill enemies if what we want is to control them all. And let's continue with the skills. We have the A1, that hits pretty hard. The A1 is pretty hard hitter. You can see, boom, 108. That's not the biggest hit. I've seen way more than that. I've seen 250, 260, 178. I've seen him doing a lot more. Same with the A3. The A3, I've seen him doing good stuff with this. Like, I'm talking about 350 plus damage. And remember, the more stuns we're placing, the more damage and the more defense he has and the more HP he has. So if we do A3 again, we smash 257, again, we kill them. Now this renegade finally is back in the battle. She took like a couple of turns of not doing absolutely anything. 225, we're increasing our damage. And this guy, the problem is he does ignore shields. So he might kill me, or I can keep him under control just by reducing the turn meter. So I've seen him doing much more damage than what we have seen now. Let's do this again. Let's put this one in block skills so he doesn't ignore my shield. And let's control someone. We didn't kill her, that's good. And then AoE, you can see the damage is increasing, 225, and it will increase a bit more. I mean, the more stuns we place, the more damage we deal. She's completely neutralized. We go again A1, 265. You can see the damage is getting slightly better with each turn, the more stuns that we place. But then here is where the main problem comes. Because against bosses, he doesn't do much. I mean, the A1 that reduces turn meter is pretty useless against bosses. A3, able to apply stuns, pretty useless against bosses. Just the A2, and the A2 doesn't fully cut it to me. I mean, yes, it's okay, placing shields, placing increased defense, that's okay. The damage, you can see, is not bad, but his role, is he designed to be a damage dealer? Is he designed to be a AoE control? We will never know, but you can see the damage is not bad. I think that's quite certain usability that we can see from him in bosses. But he doesn't do any sort of counter to any specific boss, because all bosses are immune to stuns and all these kind of things. All bosses are immune, or 98% of bosses. I think there's some bosses that you can reduce the turn meter. I think there's normal spider, these kind of things. But other than that, he doesn't really shine against any boss. Against the waves, he doesn't really shine in waves, because if we kill an enemy, then we lose the AoE control. But like I said, he reminds me a lot to War Chief, basically because the role is pretty much exactly the same. We have a tanky champion, defense base, good HP, good defense, where we have an A1 able to control in some sorts. I mean, he is able to place a provoke. PHEMO is able to reduce turn meter. Here we have A2 able to completely neutralize one single enemy. A 3 turns provoke is very interesting, as well as a complete buff steal. And then we're also able to place some shield in the same way, also defense base, same as PHEMO does. And also here, whenever an ally, blah blah blah. So it's a very, very similar prototype of champion. In this case, War Chief, his damage is nowhere near PHEMO. He doesn't hit very hard. PHEMO hits much harder. But I think War Chief is a better control than PHEMO does. But that's just my thoughts. I mean, let me know what you think in the comments, if you think I should have focused him in a different way. So far, overall, I'm not massively impressed. He's okay, he does the job, it's just a bit of filling for the faction. It's not it's gonna be the top one most desired Argonite by everyone in the next coming months, but I think he can get some job done. He can help you with waves, especially with faction wars, and the guy is tanky. The guy, the more waves it passes and the more stuns we're able to place, the more HP and defense we're gonna have, so he's able to take some damage as well as do something for the team, but I don't think he's gonna be mind-blowing. Let me know what you think in the comments, thanks a lot for watching the video, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.